This is Bob 423. We're going to discuss today going south in the fall of 2021. All the material presented today can be accessed in the Waterway Guide webpage or through the Waterway Guide icons and Acro map. And we'll cover from North Fork all the way down to Miami, but only those areas that have changed since July. So, some typical disclaimer stuff. You're the captain of the boat. I take my job seriously, and one of my long-term goals is to attain personal perfection, although that's really something I'm just trying to attain and can't guarantee. So my routes and advice is the best I can give you, but that's all it is, it's advice, and you determine where the boat actually goes and take responsibility for it. Another disclaimer. There's no way I can cover the entire ICW in this short presentation. Howsoever, what I can do is cover the major areas that have changed since July 15th, 2021, the date of the publication of my guide. There's a lot of areas that are cautions that I'm not going to cover because they haven't changed since July. So my focus in this presentation is on all the new stuff. And the guide is published in paperback, ebook, Kindle, and a limited number of spiral-bound copies are available. Links to all three versions are available at the link you see here at this area. Okay, now going from North Fork down to Beaufort, the only problem you have is staying in the channel. The channel is 10 feet, 9 feet. Maybe if the wind is out of the wrong quadrant, blowing like crazy, maybe 8.5 feet. But if you stay in the channel, there's no problem. People have gotten in trouble in the past because they wander out of the channel because the marks are too far apart, and the middle of the channel could be as far as 180 feet away from the nearest green mark. And you'll see lots of hazard marks, especially active captain, that people have run aground, not against the fact they haven't run aground, but the fact is they were out of the channel when they did it. So just follow your chart plotter, Acro map, or Navionics, and you'll be fine through here. Okay, after coming through Beaufort, the first thing you run into as a hazard is this area by Pelletier Creek at 208.8. And you have a little area here that's shoaling in. And so far, it's okay. It's been holding steady about 7 feet. It probably will get more shallow. I saw 6.5 feet actually when I went through in the fall, in the spring rather. So you may see, I don't know, 6 feet, but it's been fairly steady. So just pay attention to it and look at the alert when you get through that point of time where you want to pass through that area. And right beyond that is Spooner Creek. Again, just south of Beaufort, North Carolina. The channel is very narrow. The channel is deep enough. I saw 8 feet the last time I went through, and that was after it was dredged. So it's okay. We just have to be careful about staying in the channel. If you find an oncoming boat, it's handy knowing just how far off the channel you get when you want to let them pass by, if you want to share the channel with them. So Acro map comes in handy with that. Otherwise, always check the alert before you go through for the latest information. Coming further down, Brown's Inlet seems to be holding up fairly well. It's due to be dredged this year, but so far it seems like it doesn't need it too much. I will be down there in 2 weeks, and I'll report on what I see. Okay, here's the area just before you come to New River. If you see, if you're by 65A at high tide, and you look out, you can see the ocean. Uninterrupted ocean all the way out. And so it's kind of startling to be on the ICW and look to your left as you're going south and see the ocean. At low tide, 65A is sitting up on land on a sandbar. When I went through most recently, I saw about 6.5 feet in here and in here. Some people have reported down to 6 feet. So again, be careful. Stay in the center. Stay on the line. And you should be fine. And here's New River. New River was dredged. And New River should be dredged like that. That's the way it was dredged. That's the way it should be followed. Unfortunately, the Coast Guard has left 42A there. As far as I know, it's a red buoy, and as far as I know, it's still there. So one thing you got to do is ignore it. And I've placed a request in the Coast Guard and USACE to either remove 72A or make it a green buoy. So we'll see what they do. So when you're coming up headed south between 71 and 72, the proper way is not to do that. The proper way is to go around and follow the path the taxpayer is paid to have dredged. And another trouble spot that's getting worse is snow's cut on the eastern side. We're hitting developing shoal here, pushing that way, another shoal pushing that way, and if you cross them, you'll get down to 5 feet. This survey is very recent. Actually, the date there is wrong. The survey actually is only about a couple of weeks old. And what you see is a thing closing up. Now, this is due to be dredged, but again, probably not before the end, after the fall migration. So take it with a little bit of tide, or if you have less than 5 feet draft, then you don't have to worry so much. But what you don't want to do is cut any corners or go wide, because that runs into guaranteed 4 feet of depth. And you don't want to do that. Now here's the other side. This is the western side of Snow's Cut, and it's a slalom course. Figure you got 2 feet of, two knots of current. You got wind blowing 10, 15 knots. You got boats coming in the opposite direction, and most of them don't know about these shoals, so they try to go straight. You're trying to do the slalom course, and it can be very exciting. So, again, if you go through at low tide, then you got to pay some attention to some of the shallow areas. If you go through at higher tide, you can say, well, what doesn't matter? If you go through a higher tide, I can cut over these things. It doesn't make any difference. But if I go through at low tide, it depends on what happens. For example, this could be growing. It might be worse by the time you come through. There are people that reported coming aground if they take that course, for example. One report there. So you can play it safe by being on the blue line, or if you feel adventuresome, take a more straight path. Here's an interesting one at Lockwood's Folly. Here's the channel. Well, the channel is down to 5 feet. And that channel at 5 feet is from a survey only about 2 weeks old. So that's a problem. And what happens is they haven't yet done anything with these buoys. And so I look at it, and I see a survey. It's about 3 weeks old. And so I put a new dotted line, as you see, that goes outside on the wrong side of G47 and swings way north of the G47A to find the deep water per the survey. I will be taking this route when I come down in 2 to 3 weeks. I'll report back on what I see, but the surveys don't lie. And matter of fact, given the history of this inlet, most likely that's going to grow. So you're going to need all the leeway you can get. Now, it may be true that by the time we get there, he will have moved 47A and will have moved 46A. We hope. But there's no guarantees on that, and I have no inside information that they're going to do it. In the meantime, when I come through, I'll follow the blue line and report back on what I see. Chalot's looking good. Looks like it's holding up pretty well. And we get to McClellanville. It's got two spots that are not too wonderful. I'll go into more detail on it on the next page. Okay, here's the one at left, 431.0. Has only 5 feet. Water right there is what I saw when I went through in 5/5/2021. I don't imagine it's gotten better with time, but we'll see, because I'll take that path and see what I see soon. Now, you might say, what's the use of having the 431.1, mile marker? Who looks at that? Well, if you have AquaMap down at the bottom of the screen, it shows you continuously updated what your current mile marker is. You look at the mile marker and say, when you get close to 431.0, maybe slow down a bit and pay attention to what you're doing and that line, and see, adhere to it a little more closely, or make adjustments as you see fit. But be aware that around 431.0, you're going to run into a shallow spot. Same thing about 431.6. That one's easy to get around. You just go on the green side, and you get about 7 feet. Not so easy to get by the one at 431.0. So you're probably going to want some tide going through these areas. Likewise for Allo Poms. We do not have a recent USAC survey for Allo Poms, and there's 3 trouble spots on the next page. The first one is the most troublesome. You got a shoal that's pushing in, and in the fall, in the May of 2021, I found 7 feet on the extreme edge, but my boat that was traveling with me found 5 feet and stopped, and just on the right. So I wasn't more than about 20 or 30 feet away from him. I saw 7 feet, and he was seeing 5. So at mile mark 460.4, you might want to slow down and say, hey, let's look at this more carefully, because that shoal may not be there. That shoal may be up here by then. If it is, you might even want to go even more outside. So when I go through in a couple weeks, 3 weeks, I'll update the chart on what I see. These are not so troublesome. The shoals don't seem to be getting worse. You just go around the shallow area. And now you come to Jekyll River. What a great thing. Now we have the northern route that we've used in Bob 423 many years. Is now the official NOAA route. Not only that, they fixed the land that was never there. They took it out and corrected the chart. Isn't it great? A chart that actually depicts what's really there. If you look at Navionics, however, they haven't done that. You get this chart here. The land is still there. You get all these buoys that are here that aren't there. You get buoys up here that should be there and aren't there. So it's a bit of a mess. The yellow line, however, is still good. Follow it, and you won't get into trouble. You just can't depend on the chart. And we're coming into Watts Cut. That's not so wonderful. You got a lot of 4-foot and 5-foot spots. And what do? There's nothing to be done. Just get some tide and go through with half to full tide, because you're gonna drag your keel through bottom. Perhaps it's milky enough to get through, but why chance it? It's probably not going to get better. From past experience, a 4 is going to turn to something less than 4 as we progress through this season. So you're going to need tide. That's Watts Cut. And similar bad news at Ashpoo. This is a 9/2/2021 survey. I mean, it's not that old. And here you see 4 feet, 4 feet, 5 feet. So in Ashpoo, you're going to need, likewise, you need help with tide to get through. Now we go to Little Mud River. It has been dredged in eons, if ever. And it's down to 3.5 feet. And that was in the spring at one spot between 194 and 195. The best I could find is the blue dotted line with those depths you see there. It's easy to find a lot less in those depths, by the way. So you got to plan on half to full tide for the passage. Good news is, for the first time in recorded history, Mud River, parts of Mud River is going to be dredged. Everything in white, rectangle, is due to be dredged sometime in 2021. Probably the fall, probably around November time period. And the shallow area we always ran into in here is due to be dredged, as well as the area around here to be dredged, all of which is good news, and all of which I'll report on when I go south this fall. Now here's a detailed depth chart of Jekyll. Jekyll was dredged a couple years ago, and it's really held up fairly well. There's a 5.7 mean low water path through there, but the trouble is it's only 75 feet wide. So you got to really stick to that line. If you get off the line, you could easily see 4 feet, 3 feet, 2 feet. So this is one area where you really do have to stick to the line. Now the dredge didn't follow the old channel. It followed the right half of the channel, or the eastern edge of the channel. And some of the turns are not where you expect them to be. For example, the turn's not at Green 19 is 250 feet north of G19. And that's hard to do by eyeball, which is why it's handy to have a Beaufort 2-3 route. On the other hand, the sonar chart's pretty good through here too. So sonar chart can also help, as well as at the Beaufort 423 track. I looked at Matanzas Inlet, and it looks good. This is a very recent chart. I don't have the chart updated here on the right, but it was done fairly recently, and it looks good. The Beaufort 423 track is still will take you through the deepest water. And the last one down here is Ponce de Leon. You got the 2 and 2A, and you're okay on the Beaufort 423 track. We see a developing shoal here at Ponce de Leon. This guy here looks like he's pushing into the river, and so you have to take the track to hug 18A and 18 to avoid that shoal pushing in. There's several boats that are going aground by getting too far away from 18A and 18, so be careful through there. All the charts presented are available at Waterway Guide Explorer. They're also available by tapping on the Waterway Guide icon AcroMap. It'll bring up a detail, little chartlet to show the same charts I've just showed you. So it's all available. And more importantly, all resources available at this site. If you did nothing else, just copy down Bob ICW at blogspot.com. You'll get to how to download tracks and routes. You tap on that. You say these are all the long tracks are at. All the way, there's 4 long tracks that go all the way from North Fork down to Fort Lauderdale. So you put those 4 tracks in, and the entire ICW is plotted for you. If you have a Garmin unit, a track splitter can help you by splitting the tracks into smaller numbers, so it doesn't cause Garmin to choke on them. All the videos I've ever done are in one spot. You can buy Burgies if you want, and you can buy spiral-bound guides if you want with those clicks. And you can download GPS routes if you want with that link. or you join the wine group if you want to do that. So all this stuff is available. It's all free for the asking. Feel free to record and do it. You might also look and say how to record in ShareTrack. That's also one of the tabs on that website. So coming in the end, always check the Weather Guide alerts for the area you're passing through first. They will be up to date because I maintain them to the best of my ability. For a copy of the charts presented in paperback or ebook, of course, all the charts you see are also in the guide. What I've showed you is updates since July 15th. There is many other cautions I didn't cover because they're already covered in the guide. For the 13,600 member Facebook group, you might want to join this group if you haven't already. We discuss daily what people see in the water, and it's like a bulletin board of new news in the morning of what's happening on the ICW. And at some point in time, I will actually be on the ICW again, probably in about a week and a half, and I'll have my own blog to discuss what I see in an informal way, which may be of interest to some people. And that's it. Thank you for joining. Let me know any comments. Just put them down on the Facebook page. I'll do my best to respond. Thank you much.